Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. And we begin today's show with Joe Biden's student loan relief announcement. The U.S. president says his government will forgive $10,000 in federal student loans. The forgiveness applies if the borrower's income is less than $125,000 a year or $250,000 for a married couple. And there's more. Biden said students who come from low-income families that qualify for the Pell Grant will have their debt reduced by $20,000. According to the Department of Education, 8 million borrowers could be automatically impacted, and the rest need to apply for the forgiveness program. People were also expecting another extension on other debt relief measures. Since March 2020, federal student aid has offered a pause on federal loan repayments and 0% interest rates. Biden said he extended these programs until the end of the year. He said he's honoring his commitment to provide student debt relief and that his office has made incredible progress advancing America's economic recovery.
If you make under $125,000, you get $10,000 knocked off your student debt. If you make under $125,000 a year and you received a Pell Grant, you'll get an additional $10,000 knocked off that total, for a total of $20,000 relief. 95% of the borrowers can benefit from these actions. That's 43 million people. Of the 43 million, over 60% are Pell Grant recipients. That's 27 million people who will get $20,000 in debt relief. Nearly 45% can have their student debt fully canceled. That's 20 million people who can start getting on with their lives.
And as millions of people receive the news, they flock to student loan websites to check if they're eligible for the forgiveness program. So, of course, those websites crashed. Two of the largest federal student loan providers, Nelnet and MyGreatLakes.org, were down after Biden announced the aid. And what do you do when you're waiting for the website to load? You make memes, of course. Now, this user turned to the most reliable form of expressing frustration on the internet with an angry Squidward. Now, this post is for everyone who will still have tens of thousands of dollars in student debt, even after Biden's relief plan. And is this really what millennial culture is all about? Trying to calculate how long it will still take to pay off 4+ years of U.S. tuition minus $20K. According to the latest Federal Reserve numbers, U.S. borrowers have around $1.75 trillion in student debt. Now, Biden's proposal could cut that total by around $321 billion, and it could eliminate all federal loan debt for 31% of borrowers. The aid package also applies to those who are still students, and even a small portion of that being canceled means a little bit of breathing room for students.
Like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, mostly for my parents because it stresses them out like a lot. I'm definitely going to call my parents and I'm going to let them know that they don't have to worry about it anymore, or at least for this year, because my freshman year has been paid off. But my sophomore year, I'm actually planning to take out loans again for my next semester. So knowing that I've gotten the Pell Grant twice, so it's going to be $20K for me, is like a huge relief. And, I'm just excited at this point.
But surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, the Biden administration's decision did not make everyone happy. Some economists and policy experts argue that loan forgiveness would cost each taxpayer an average of $2,000. Student financial aid expert Mark Kantrowitz estimates the plan could add up to $360 billion in governmental costs. The president of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget noted that this is not the same as paying off debt. This just shifts it from one kind of borrower to another. And even those suffering from student debt point out that the root of the problem is the fact that you need to take out student loans to get higher education in the first place.
As much as it would be awesome to wipe out $10,000, like I would easily be debt-free by the end of this year if that happens, I don't think I want it to happen because I really am afraid of the long-term effects. If they wipe out $10,000 per person, where does that money come from? It's probably gonna fall back on taxpayers, right? So I have a feeling that would affect inflation, and we are already experiencing so much of it.
And some other people say that it's not fair to start canceling student debt now when others have already managed to pay off their loans. They ask, aren't there any rewards for the people who didn't wait for this cancellation program to pay off their debts? And Biden was asked the same thing after his announcement.
It's unfair to people who paid their student loans or chose not to take out loans.
Is it fair to people who, in fact, do not own multi-billion-dollar businesses if she wants these guys give them all a tax break? Is that fair? What do you think?
What about people who paid their loans, though, struggled to pay their loans, and now others don't have to?
The timing of Biden's major policy announcement has also raised eyebrows as midterm elections approach. Political analysts say the president has been under heavy pressure from liberal members of his party to follow through on his campaign promise. Republicans have hit back, arguing that it's unfair for taxpayers who didn't go to college to pay for those who did. But Biden has insisted this aid package could benefit around 70 million people. He added that this could lead to greater possibilities for future generations. Disgraced former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak returned to court on Thursday for his second corruption trial, days after he was sent to prison for stealing billions of dollars from state investment fund 1MDB. Najib became Malaysia's first former leader to be imprisoned after the country's top court on Tuesday rejected the final appeal in its first graft case. As many Malaysians have been rejoicing that justice has finally been served, a campaign pushing for Najib to be granted a royal pardon has been gathering steam. Loyalists have marched to the King's Palace to hand in a petition calling for Najib's freedom.
Jika minggu ini tidak berlaku apa.
If by this week there is no pardon for Najib, we will come back with a bigger crowd next week. I ask the Prime Minister to intervene, or for the country's leaders, the leaders of our political party, UMNO, to withdraw their support for the government. This coalition government is really useless.
Saya datang sini adalah kerana tidak berpuas hati. I'm here because I'm not satisfied with what the judiciary has done. There's no justice. Najib hasn't been given the chance to defend himself.
Many netizens disagree, though, saying Najib did indeed get a fair trial and that upholding his guilty verdict and 12-year jail sentence shows that the judiciary is doing its job. This netizen says, let this be a cautionary tale and a reminder for all current and future politicians elected to office. Farhan here echoes what many people on Twitter have been saying, that a royal pardon for Najib would be detrimental to the country's royal institutions. Meanwhile, more than 90,000 people have signed an online petition set up by electoral watchdog Bersih calling on the king not to grant Najib a royal pardon, citing the amount of shame the former PM has brought to Malaysia.
This is only the second time in ASEAN where a senior leader has actually faced accountability for crimes. This 1MDB scandal is the largest kleptocracy scandal in the world. Malaysia has a serious corruption problem, no question. But I think, the 1MDB case was particularly egregious in terms of the amount of money and the greed that was involved. I think it serves as a warning, and it also serves as a recognition that there are strengthening of political institutions and demands for accountability that are real. They were evident in the election of 2018 when people voted for a change of government, and they continue to exist within Malaysia. So this is not just about a warning, it's also about stronger political institutions and Malaysians wanting those institutions to be stronger.
The widow of late NBA superstar Kobe Bryant has been awarded $16 million in damages in a lawsuit against Los Angeles County. Vanessa Bryant said she was traumatized after learning that LA Sheriff's deputies and firefighters had taken and shared photos of the helicopter crash scene where her husband and daughter died in 2020. And although the photos never went public, Vanessa said she had panic attacks over the possibility it could happen at any moment. The jury unanimously sided with Vanessa, who cried as the verdict was announced. The other plaintiff in the lawsuit, Chris Chester, who lost his wife and daughter in the same crash, was granted $15 million. Both plaintiffs said the photos of their loved ones not only caused emotional distress, but also violated their privacy. Coincidentally, the verdict came on Kobe Day. LA had named August 24th as Kobe Day to honor the basketball legend, whose jersey numbers were 8 and 24. The verdict was also announced a day after his birthday. He would have turned 44 this year. After the ruling, his wife Vanessa shared this family photo on Instagram with the caption, "Justice for Kobe and Gigi." Lawyers on TikTok have been weighing in on the verdict.
This happened for two reasons. Even though federal judges and juries tend to be more conservative, Kobe is a legend in Los Angeles, beloved by all. And Sheriff Alex Villanueva has dealt with one scandal after another. His deputies not only took and sent the pictures, they lied about it to the media and on the witness stand and tried to cover it up by wiping hard drives and cell phones. I think this is a fair and just result to compensate Vanessa and the other victim for the invasion of privacy and the emotional distress they suffered, and to send a message to law enforcement and firefighters that they're public servants who aren't above the law.
Can you imagine the impact that it would have on your life if your nearest and dearest had just died and first responders were taking photos and sharing them just cause? It's irrelevant that he was one of the most famous celebrities of all time. It's not okay. And while arguably Miss Bryant and Mr. Chester don't need the money, the reality is that these damages should serve as a strong reminder there are obligations around dignity and civility when we deal with these circumstances.
So we're deep in the midst of a crypto winter, but ironically, amid the slump, crypto scams are on the rise. New research by industry analyst Elliptic shows that alarmingly, more than $100 million worth of NFTs were stolen since July 2021. The most common tactic for stealing the digital art is through phishing scams, where NFT owners are duped into handing over the credentials to their digital wallets. On average, criminals made off with $300,000 in each scam. Some NFTs were also stolen by hacking or impersonating social media accounts. The most valuable NFT ever stolen is CryptoPunk 4324, which was sold by scammers soon after the theft on November 13th for $490,000, while the largest single heist from an individual victim resulted in the loss of 16 blue-chip NFTs worth $2.1 million on December 28th. TikTokers have been sharing how to avoid such scams.
So NFTs are great, you can make money, but a lot of people do shady stuff. So a lot of projects, they'll fake their Discord engagement. This old post is going up in numbers while the new one isn't moving at all. On top of that, watch out for these fake Twitter promoters. They'll charge owners a ton of money for a tweet and they're not even legit. You can tell that this post is botted when there's no comments but a ton of likes and retweets. The main thing is if you try to look these people up, they're not even on Google. Yeah, NFT promoter people like this are legit. You can tell by the engagement. Plus, this guy, you can search him up on Google. All I'm saying, just please be careful.
3 signs an NFT giveaway is a scam. 1, if you're asked to verify your wallet password or seed phrase. 2, if a promoter contacts you on Twitter, IG, Facebook, or TikTok claiming you won a free NFT. And 3, if you're asked to click on a link to get your free NFT, it's a scam.
Here's 2 NFT scams you need to avoid. First one, airdrop on OpenSea. This is my account. These are not my NFTs. So the hackers will drop an NFT in your hidden folder. As soon as you take it out, it gives them access to your wallet, and they'll steal every damn thing you have. And we don't want that. So if you don't know who sent it, don't open it. Do not take it out of the hidden folder.
All right, on to what's trending. The Uvalde School District has fired its police chief, Pete Arredondo, over his handling of the mass shooting at the Robb Elementary School that killed 21 people back in May. The police response to that incident was heavily criticized as officers waited over 70 minutes before intervening, while the gunman continued his rampage inside a classroom. Arredondo was in charge of the police response. Families are now saying accountability should not end with Arredondo's dismissal. So is this little Uvalde student whose cry went viral.
If a law enforcement's job is to protect and serve, why didn't they protect and serve my friends and teachers on May 24th? I have messages for Pete Arredondo and all the law enforcement that were there that day. Turn in your badge and step down. You don't deserve to wear one.
That tragedy is so heartbreaking. Now on to our next story. Did you see posts like these on your Facebook feed on Wednesday? Well, if you did, don't worry. You're not alone. Thousands of these spam posts appeared on the social network due to a bug. Users posted about it on Down Detector, a website which tracks whether or not a website is working. But the outage sparked a meme fest among netizens. This user posted a rather confused picture of Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg attempting to solve the problem. Hank here used Will Smith's infamous slap on Chris Rock at this year's Oscars to poke fun at the issue. Unfortunately, that's where the memes end. This communication officer from Meta, FB's parent company, explained what caused the problem, blaming it on a configuration change. She says the issue was resolved as quickly as possible and apologized for any inconvenience caused. So this was the dramatic moment this super yacht sank off the coast of southern Italy. The 42-meter-long vessel ran into trouble while sailing to Sicily, and don't worry, all 4 guests and the 1 crew member on board were all evacuated to safety before the ship sank. An investigation is now underway to figure out why the ship sank. And Sony could be forced to fork out almost $6 billion after being sued in the UK. It comes out over allegations it ripped off customers with overpriced games and in-game purchases in its own PlayStation Store. If found guilty, up to 9 million gamers could be compensated. The group leading the lawsuit claims the entertainment giant broke competition law and imposed unfair terms and conditions on game developers and publishers, which drove up prices. Sony has yet to respond to the lawsuit. And that brings us to the end of today's newsfeed. Check us out on YouTube and do subscribe. Bye and see you same time tomorrow.